Running Sentences presents The Long Road to Get Home. Part 5. The Moving City. Reaching this city is easy. Getting supplies and finding someone who will tell them anything is a bit more of a challenge for Ventured. This story is written and narrated by Michael Hunneran. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2024, Michael Hunneran, all rights reserved. Halfway across the field, the group now finds that they had a sort of road under their feet, a paved one that makes travel a bit easier, and the field, which had been a bit mucky to clump through, now is quiet-ish, but there was no one else on it, going to this little city that they had ahead of them. Is there a problem with this road, Claudia? I don't think so. Why ask me? Well, you are from here and you know all that goes on around here since your plane of existence is your home and all of that. Well, I don't know all that goes on, Barn. If you wish me to guess, though, I think the road begins here because that's where the creature or whatever moves. The city ends. Their protective shell or whatever, I don't know. It's a whole part of them, I guess. But that's only a guess. They kept moving, and were now getting closer and closer to the walls of this place, which towered upwards above them. The look they give off, despite only being grey stone, was a dominant one, that any creature that approached should be in awe of how tall these things were. Do we have a plan for actually getting in there, you guys? It shouldn't be a problem to get into this city. It's a city they generally let anyone in, Keith. Yes, but it is also a city that moves about to protect itself and, stay alive. So to me, that sounds like it won't be easy to just walk past the gates, They'll probably have somebody there to stop us. Before anyone asks me, I don't know. I've never been to this place, and I don't even know its name, so do not ask me. A bit of back and forth continues as the town gate now comes into full view, with Claudia still protesting that she doesn't really know anything. They found that it was guarded as they approached it by a line of soldiers, each with different weapons and different pieces of armor. Still out of earshot of those guards, though, Langer turns quickly to the group. Well, that doesn't look like it bodes well for us, I think. What do you mean? Well, Eerie, if they're sharing armor, Eerie, as it appears they are, that means they don't have a lot, which means a poor city and potentially no portals or doors to get home. Wouldn't you agree? Their continued walk towards the gate now put them squarely in front of it. Langer, who'd been walking backwards as he says this, now spins about to see these soldiers. None look happy to see any potential visitors. Who goes there? We are a traveling group looking for entrance into the city. Why do you want to come to the city of the Red Mark? We're looking for a way home. There's a moment where the guards begin to confer with one another, all without breaking their long line stretching across the entrance. Do you have permission to come here? Do we need permission? The guard's attention shifted towards Eerie after a little short conversation with Barn. Yes, only those who are known to the prince shall enter these hallowed grounds. There were a few hopeful glances towards Claudia by the group, but she merely blinks and stares at the guards ahead. Is there any way we could get to know the prince so that we can get in? Caddy's interruption made the guards shift their attention to her. No, he never sees anyone in his palace. If you have no pass, you cannot enter. What is this prince's name, just in case I vaguely remember him or maybe came across him? Are you a magic wielder? What? No. Well, I do healing and stuff. That has dark origins, but the real magic user is the one other plain-looking man over there. The guard's attention go to Claudia and then turn to Keith and keep bouncing around the group as Claudia points him out. A few weapons were now pointed in Keith's direction, while the guards were now distracted, though she did wave her hand a bit in a practiced routine towards the guards. "Don't try anything, sir." "I wasn't planning on it since I want to get into the town." "Good." "What is the name of the prince, please?" The guard nearest to Claudia shook their head for a moment, shaking loose some cobwebs or something with a distant look before managing to concentrate once again. It's Prince Philip of the Gates." "Thank you, miss. That wasn't so hard, was it? Then now that I think about it, I perhaps might in fact know him." This drew a lot of dubious looks from everyone, with Caddy getting closer to Claudia at a whisper to her. "Do you really know him?" "Shush, they don't need to know who I do and don't know." "Do you know him?" "Yes, Miss Guard, I am Claudia Dark of the Devil's Town. Tell him that, and he will gladly meet with us." Another moments of hesitation took over as the guards, who had been speaking to one another, then turned around to make sure their conversation was now not overheard. Something, though, was relayed to the guard inside the gate, and that went up the wall to the top, where a large device was. It began clacking away for a few moments and then fell silent. In the distance there was further clacking, and then whatever it was that was responded then came down to the guards. "You'll have to wait a few moments. A captain is coming from the castle to see you." There was a bit of a wait until a large man, orcish in stature, with big tusks emerging from his teeth, came to the gate. "What and who wants to talk to the prince?" "This one, sir, said she knows him." The orc steps forward, towering over the entirety of the little troop known as Ventured. "Hello, I am Claudia, and I wish to enter the city." "Because you know the prince?" "It was implied by your guards that should we know him, we could get in." "We are only passing through, by the way, sir, as our needs are simple, a resupply of goods and a portal out of here." "It doesn't matter what your needs are." "The prince would say otherwise if you would be so kind to show us to him." The captain turned back to Claudia, raising his fist towards her. "The prince does not know you." "Are you sure about that? Because if you can't be sure, then the only thing you can do is bring us to him to be sure. If you don't, then you risk the ire of that brat." "He is not a brat." "Says you, the last time I saw him, he would only talk about himself, and if anyone brought up something else, well, if I remember correctly, there were a few dungeon inhabitants by the end of the night, because, he had some weird power over that governor." There was a few moments' hesitation from the captain, who had a faraway look studying something beyond them. He snapped to after that, but cast a glance back towards the gate. "Well, if you're lying, you'll be in the cells before you know it, so I guess we can at least entertain you." "Perfectly acceptable to us, thank you." Claudia finally stopped weaving her little intricate pattern with her hand, satisfied that the magic had its intended effect, as they now walked past the gate. The road was an evenly paved stone trail that went straight as far as they could see. There was a fountain some distance away, but it wasn't what had drawn their attention. They found themselves looking at a mostly empty road. There were a few scrambling figures, fleeting here and there, but never anyone around for very long. "Is something going on here?" "What do you mean, sir?" "What our leader, Mr. Barnes, says, then what's happening here reminds us of another place we came across. Right, Claudia?" "Yes, a monster took a town over and made it capture inhabitants, and we rarely got to see people until they came in, and then they would vanish." The captain, and this outly person, came to a stop, turning to look at each of them sternly. "That is not what is going on here. The people love our fair city and take after the prince, who shows them the way. You are accusing us of being in league with a creature of the night? Is that what I'm getting from this? Is that what this is? Why you've actually entered our fair city? The prince would never let us fall to that." Then what is going on here, sir? It doesn't feel normal. I take it from the lot of you. You are not from around here, are you? He glared at Keith, who'd asked the question, and then turned his attention to the rest of them. No, we are not. It's another realm, another time period even, perhaps. Well, it shows. We do things differently here. No running around being seen by others. Get used to it. A bit more of a walk, and turning from the main road onto another one, the group suddenly found themselves on the grounds of the castle. They went towards the large door with a balcony over it, and were promptly brought to a stop before that space. The captain points up towards the balcony where a thin, grey-looking elf stood leaning over the railing and looking down upon them. Which of you am I supposed to know? There was a hesitation before Claudia steps forward. That would be me, Mr. Prince. And I know you how? Unfortunately, yes, you do know me, though from many years ago. He peers further over the railing, squinting his eyes to get a full view of her. I don't believe you. What are you doing here and why have you come here? Sir, we're looking for supplies and a portal home, or maybe to another city if you don't want us around. Why would I give you access to that, If I had them, I would use them myself to get away from here. You're trapped here. I didn't say that, no. Who are you? What do you want? You look like a rogue of some sort. No, it sounded like that from what you didn't say, sir. Putting words into the mouth of a royal? How dare you? You think that I won't kill you because you can't see my people? They are well protected, and you will be struck down when you least expect it. There is no one else around here, is there, sir? What? No, they are here. We can't see them. They're happily around, and nothing major. Go away. Literally, you mean we can't see them? The prince looks to his captain with disgust. Why have you let these fools in? Well, sir, you said if someone knew you that they could come in. And, sir, perhaps if we can help you, and now that we're here, instead of going to jail or being thrown out of the city? You mean find out what's going on to my people even though nothing has happened to them? Yes. The prince looked darkly at Barn, who was now sort of all on his own, standing in front of the group. Captain Oatley, show this rabble around the city and then to the door. I don't have time for them in my prison cell, and they just take up space. And show them that there's nothing wrong here. With a swish of velvety sort of robes that was far too dramatic, the prince disappears from the balcony. Oatley then turns on them with a glare. Well, you've pissed off the prince. I hope you're happy. He could have told us the truth. What he said was the truth, mister. There is now a weapon pointed towards Keith, who simply shrugs back. Alright, totally truth, no lies, no nothing. Shall we go back and see this city with its hidden inhabitants? As our leader, Barn, says, can we even see them? If they're in the buildings not coming out, it shouldn't be too hard to see them by knocking on a few doors along the way. Maybe if the chance comes. I am to give you but a quick tour of our beloved city to prove that there is nothing going on. The captain has turned and begins marching away, which the adventurers have ventured, didn't instantly begin to follow, but shared a look between one another. Can you waste time investigating this place? You need to get home after all. Claudia, if this gets us home, then I guess it doesn't count as time wasted. At least I hope. The abandoned streets offer little to look at as they begin the walkabout. The captain expertly guides them through the town, showing off a few streets and the occasional human figure sort of thing that darts across the way. On they went, encountering few to no people, and going into no buildings along the way. The tour comes to an end at the grand plaza with the fountain they'd seen before. Here, too, it was all quiet and devoid of humanoid or any other like figures, a fact that bothers the group as they look about for anything to put them at ease. As you can see, there's nothing the matter. This is the way things are here. Yes, Captain, but a city should have people, creatures, and activity. Are you under some sort of spell, Captain? No, I am not. He turns on Langer and Eerie, who are pestering him this second. Nor is the town cursed in any way. A lot of you should go to jail for wasting time and asking questions. Well, as we can point out, you don't have the guards to do that. So if you really don't want our help, we will simply wander through until we find what we're looking for. Or you can just point us to the nearest portal, potentially. The captain grunted and shook his head. You think I am all alone? Ha! You have some invisible guards helping you keep an eye on us? No, nothing so plain. The wind had picked up, tunneling its way through buildings and blasting each of them with a frigid coldness. It didn't blow them off their feet, but a few did stagger about until they regained their balance. Nothing was the matter because you're what's causing this? Again, wrong. I'm not that simple. The prince, then. No, little arrow thief person. This little adventuring party is so simple that they don't see an answer as clear as day in front of them. We found this place like it. We took over. It's always been this way. The group bared down hard as the wind began picking up even more now. Is this because you're angry with us? We've done nothing aside from ask a few questions. We get that you want us gone, but if you're doing this, it won't solve your problems. Oh, it's not my doing. You will now find out, though, what haunts this city. Another gust of wind rolls through, this time blowing dust and debris up into their faces. When it cleared, the captain was gone, and there was no signs of him. Oh boy, that's great. That was unusual. So what do we do now? What should we do now? I think it's rather simple, Langer. Find supplies and then get out of here. What else would we do? Well, we could solve whatever is going on here since it is weird. No, it's not our business. As curious as it is, let's find the shop and get to the nearest portal out of here. Barn, having said this, began charging off towards the road which had a sign over it. He pointed to it as he went past it. This way to the business section of town. Down into this little section they went, a place of only 3 or 4 streets, both wide and long, incredibly small by all standards, which they chose to ignore. The search for shops, though, to sell them goods was not going well as they'd hoped. 3 shops had already been tried with no reply to the doors, and those would not budge open, even when they threw some weight at it, and even some well-aimed rocks at glass of the shop windows that would just bounce back, as if the rocks weren't heavy enough, despite being good-sized rocks. This isn't good so far, Barnon. It's only gotten colder. Do you really think we can solve whatever is wrong when we don't have components for your spells? I have a few left. It's better to stock up. Come on, here's another store. He points to another shop just off the road, and the group follows without much thought. Barn got to the door and gave it a hearty knock, figuring there's probably no one in there, and tried the door handle to be extra certain. And to everyone's surprise, it opens with a loud creak. We're only going to see if anyone's around. No taking of anything until we're sure of everything. Agreement nods all around, though everyone was giving each other the side eye to make sure that They were on the up and up, not of distrust, but to show one another they knew that things could quickly change. It was a crowded little space, packed full of shelves and things on them, from weapons to common household items. If one could think of it, it was probably there. With difficulty, the six crowded their way through the building that wrapped like a maze of one-way aisles that went all the way around the shop. Though it eventually would come to a stop in front of a desk with a bell placed on it, and nothing else. Why did we stop? There's nowhere further to go, and all we have is a bell, Claudia. Ring it already. Let's see if someone is here. Barn listens to the request from Eerie and taps on the bell to ring it. A second later, and smoke begins to pour from the ground until a figure appears from it. They took on much of the smoke to form themselves into a full-bodied female figure. Welcome to my shop. What can I do for you? We're looking to stock up on some goods. Are you at normal business? Whatever gave you the impression that this isn't a standard business? You can see my shelves filled with goods of such a great nature. Barn points his thumb towards the way they'd come. Well, it isn't normal out there, or in here for that matter. A twisted maze of a place, and, well, generally people don't come across many smoke-like creatures. Well, I guess when you put it that way, there's little I can do to convince you that you're wrong. I don't like it when people don't believe me, but to sell something is always good for this shop, so we are normal in that sense. What's the cost of goods? A grand question from the nosy little elf lady. I can only tell you the answer to that when you gather items and put them on my desk. Then we can haggle. The group splits up, looking at what the shop has to offer. It only took a good 20 minutes before items were being dumped onto the desk. This smoky lady paused her way through the items, occasionally looking at them to see who was associated with what things. Now how much? Mr. Human, you're the magic user, aren't you? There is no sum to put on this lot of goods, but you want one, so I think I need a dream from each of you in return. There's a stunned silence from Ventured as they try to figure out what to make of that request. What kind of dream? A hope for the future sort of kind, or one when we go to sleep? Well, that is an interesting question, mister. You look like a rogue. I'm guessing you're a rogue. I will leave that to your choice and your discretion, but it better be good. That isn't much of a cost. What do you get out of this? The smoky cloud whirled around the shopkeeper, making her feature disappear for a moment and almost reach out towards Claudia before retreating. I feed off of such things, and in an environment poor on food, I will take what I can get. And just to be sure, once you have these, we can never have these same dreams again? Well, they may return to you at some point, but for the most part, they'll be mine at that point. Think carefully if it is worth these trinkets to you. A few murmurs make their way around them, as Eerie did her best to make her way through towards the front. Well, I only need the potions, but that would be an unfair deal, in my opinion, for a dream. Do you agree to that? There was a slow shake of the head yes from the shopkeeper, and it was a little difficult to tell if it was a yes or no, so Eerie waits a moment more. You want something more. Portal doorway or a location of the nearest one with the ability to get it open. Ah, you are escaping from here, are we? Yes. Do we have a deal? As long as it is a good dream, then I suppose, yes, The potions and the doorway would make a good trade, yes. Eerie sighs and took a deep breath as she thought for a moment. Eventually she stiffens her back and looks straight at the shopkeeper. It is my dream to one day be free of my contract to Lord Quarter of the Five Roads. He holds my work license for our realm in his hands. A wide grin comes over the shop owner. It seems to take up much of her face and almost drifts off of it. She would nod slowly as smoke slowly begins exiting from Erie's mouth. Strands turned into billows, and then just like that, it is over, with Erie stepping back with a shake of her head no. What did you do, miss? Well, I took the essence of a dream for her, and now she owns the exit portal, one use of it, and these health potions and other potions I'm sure she could use. Now, but I suppose I should explain that they do appear to you like smoke. To me, it is a sweet, sweet nectar. Now, who else wishes to barter? A few of the group look over to Keith and then Claudia, who both look reluctant to step forward. Instead, it's Langer who decides to step into the breach. Keith, what do you need from this mess, and do you have to have? Well, most of the components and the weird knick-knack looking things are sort of really super important. Langer nods to Keith and then looks to the shopkeeper. It costs a dream, yes? A good one is all that I want. Well, I had a dream the other night. One where I was being hunted by a reaching vine. It had grabbed at me and my friends as it dragged us into the air, but instead of doing anything to us, like eating us, it just let us hang there in the wind. The vines had wrapped up and around us super tight and wouldn't let us speak. All we could do was hang there, waiting for something to happen, as time simply flew by. That is quite an odd dream to have, sir. A terrible one, really. Also pretty partially true, since vines in the woods are coming this way. I fear they want to claim this place as well as the woods. The shop owner waved her hand towards Langer, who blinked and then shook his head. A second later, a puff of smoke, a mask-like thing, came off of his face, and he recoiled a bit, as part of it began to crumble from its smoky shape into a wisp that went straight into the mouth of this shopkeeper and vanish off into the new owner. Ah, a lie with some truth sprinkled into it. Delicious nonetheless. Your friend can take their components. Keith hurries forward as Langer passes the odd items, from dirt to a smidge of gold dust, to him. All attention turned to Claudia, who held up her hands where her ring was. The story and the dream of a ring for my components. What do you say? What is the story, miss? I don't actually know yet. It's a dream to find out what lie behind this cursed item in my hand, and it's been passed down for years in my family. A closer look by all from the group at the ring showed a blue gold twisted thing that was twisted around a dark reddish material. Surrounding it was a floating haze of whispery black that rotates all around the ring. You're okay with not knowing the secrets it has to offer you? You said it might come back around to us. I can wait for it. As you wish. There was another wave of the hand as steamy smoke rose from the ring, curling its way around Claudia's finger, and then made its way towards the shopkeeper, wrapping around her hand and forming a sort of pseudo-ring. Anyone else? There were many firm headshakes, no, and she smiles and makes the items, still on the counter, vanish from sight. You do still owe us, though. Oh yes, of course, missy. To the portal we shall go. In a surprise move, the smoky figure steps forward and through the counter, her smoke form easily passing through. Please follow me. Outside they went, taking no time at all to head through the streets. Occasionally, this Blue, the shopkeeper who finally introduced herself, would dissipate thanks to the heavy winds and her form. But a few seconds later she would be back, leading them through these empty roads. "I suppose we should ask what's going on around here?" "Oh, Mr. Leader, you mean the emptiness of it all. It was taken over a long time ago, and whatever is in this wind tends to feed off of warmth." "How are you still around, then?" Caddy had gotten nearer to this Blue in order to get her question answered. "Smoke does not give off heat, dear. I will be fine. You, on the other hand, will not have fun if it does find you." "Well, what is it?" "I do not know entirely what it is myself. My best guess is that it is some sort of plague that took the residents and ate away at them until their warmth was gone." "A crawler, then, perhaps?" Blue offers a shrug to Caddy's inquiry as they arrive at a raised platform somewhere far off to the side of this little city. "I have no idea what it is, and I told you that, but it could be that, I suppose. From my understanding, a creature that hides in the shadows, crawling along looking for warmth. At least that's from what I've read about them. The drawings from the books I saw show a creature that had sort of glowing eyes in the dark corner. Not really great drawings, but they were what they were." Blue was no longer paying attention to Caddy, and she points to the nearby staircase that leads up to the top of the platform. "Your door out is up there. I cannot go there, but maybe you will have luck escaping. Good luck." "Why can't you?" "Mr. Lear, the creature that haunts this town, knows that place all too well. I would like to stay alive, and I'm guessing it's waiting for someone to try and open that doorway to another place so that it can escape as well. That's what I felt anyway." "You said it wouldn't hunt you, though." She shrugs. "Well, it might not be able to feel my warmth. I still have some, I suppose, and I'm not willing to risk it." The group looks up the staircase, trying to see what is atop it, but it was too far out of view. "Oh, by the way, you will need this to open the door." She tosses an oblong-looking rock to Barn, who catches it and looks it over. There's nothing particularly special looking about this. "You'll see where it needs to go in the door frame. Give it a few twists and a prayer to open it up." And with that, she was gone, taken away by a cold blast of wind. I think we should go, right?" "Already ahead of you, Langer." Keith was already up the stairs as he said this, with the rest now following him up. The climb took a few seconds, whereupon they found themselves on a round top with a stone-framed doorway, minus the door, in it. The stone was covered in vines all around, except for one spot on the right side. Barn moves over towards that. "Right, nothing looks weird here, but we don't really know where we're going to go, right?" "Well, my map is pretty ruined, and I forgot to get a new one from Blue. Not that it would have been worth it. Claudia, can you help us out?" "Where are we planning on going?" "A large town with a population and a portal door that would get us back home, since this one probably won't. I don't know if it has enough power or something. I don't think this one will link up to another realm. Anyway, it doesn't seem to have runes to it, or going for it, so..." "And you expect me to know any of these towns?" "Well, you are from here, so you would at least know how of a town or two." "I was also trapped, Caddy, in a village for a couple of years. Things change, you know." "Yes, but not the big cities. They tend to at least keep their names for the most part." The cold wind had been growing, with shadows that take over the platform, forming and then gone again. Those shadows never stayed around. The group swore that they occasionally saw something, eyeing them from it. Well, we don't have much time for this. Do you know of another city around this place? The only name that comes to me at the moment is Port Partkey, but it isn't even on this landmass. The shadows were now growing even more, and they seemed to stretch across this platform, surrounding it. A few of them, even sort of individual-looking things, look like they're trying to raise up out of the ground. Well, it's good enough for us, I think. We don't have much time, Claudia. What am I even supposed to do? Barn had tossed her the stone key as Langer pushes her towards the stone frame of the door. It's all about a prayer to get us where we need to go. Anything at this point should work to some extent. I've never prayed before, Langer. Say whatever you want about a door opening and getting us to the city, you said. It might work, or it might throw us across the galaxy, or the realm, or the world, who knows, and it will be fun to find out. But if you don't do that, we might be eaten by whatever this thing is. So, The sound of a sizzling fireball shot off behind them and exploded, giving off a fair amount of heat. I think someone else should do this, not me. But another firm shove by Langer had her at the stone frame with the rock held out in front of her. She tried to steady herself, but with all balance gone, all she could do was stab the rock into the empty spot where the vines weren't growing on the frame. It clicked into that spot, and she remembered to twist it a few times. Oh, great transport gods! We need to head to Port Partkey. If you could be so kind to open the way for us. There was a dim hum from the stones, as a blue goo suddenly appeared where a door should be. A glance behind her showed that one of the shadow creatures now stood fully formed, with its shadows dripping off its razor-like teeth. None of the group waited to see if it was going to attack them or not, as they all threw themselves at this doorway, hoping that this goo was now going to let them through. End of Part 5 of The Long Road to Get Home. Thank you for listening.